Hey guys, this is Jay doing this video for my build group on Facebook, DIY Teardrop Campers Community. This is how I cut down full-size doors. This might save some people some money, so I figured why not. I get asked all the time how to do it. Here it is. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to get your door out and you're going to lay it flat on a flat surface, up high, so you can work on it. You don't have to struggle with it. Okay, open it up like I have shown here. And grab your stuff and start, separating stuff. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to separate the hinge from the door and from the screen door and get them out of your way, because we're going to cut down the frame first. Once you cut down the frame, it's pretty easy because you just cut the core to fit. Especially when you have a door with no window in it. That's why I prefer to use a door with no window. You can always add a window if you want to. Alright, well, I'm going to go ahead and get started. You're going to pull off the hinge screws from the screen door. I have a little tray here, I'm putting them in. Every door I've ever came across, they're a number 2 square bit for a trailer. That just seems to be what they use. So once you get all the screws out, I took a couple out to save a little time. You just pull the screen door and get it out of your way. Now you got the frame. Now on these doors, on the frame side, I've never seen them to where they're just screwed. They're always riveted. So if you're going to go ahead and flip your door, to the opposite swing, you can go ahead and grind them out. Otherwise, you just leave them right where they're at. Chances are you're going to leave the hinges right where they're at anyways. This door I'm not sure yet. I just have to see where they fall when I cut the door down, because I'm building a 5 tall, and the height obviously can be easily adjusted for a 4 tall or whatever you're doing. Alrighty. So then now that you got that out of the way, you're gonna go ahead and separate the core itself and its frame from the hinge. Again, took out a bunch of screws just to save a little bit of time so we can make this go quick. Now eventually what I'll probably end up doing is grabbing the camera and having it in my hand, but for this part of it I think it's okay. I put something underneath it so when I undo these screws, it doesn't just flop and drop all over the place, scratching the pylon on the other side. Because if possible, I don't need to reskin these doors because I'm using the same pylon that they're already skinned with. I've been pretty lucky and been able to find the same color or very similar. I didn't on the last build, and I ended up having them wrapped, which worked out nice. Cheap solution to tearing the door apart again. So once that's all unscrewed, you can just kind of gently separate it. You don't want your door to drop or nothing. You're going to go ahead and get the core out of your way, because like I said, we're going to work on the frame first. So now that you got that out of the way, you just kind of leave your hinges there. These are actually what they call friction hinges, so you really don't need a door catch to keep your door open. These hinges are really tight. They're hard to move now. They're a lot less hard when the door is actually on there. But it's a nice feature. The last one I built had that, and it's usually only the top hinge, sometimes the bottom hinge as well, which on this one it is the bottom hinge as well. You just kind of fold that down. Now you're going to remove all the hardware on this side for the screen door. Any spacers that are on it you're going to keep, because those are kind of important. You're going to want to save those because those will help keep everything lined up when you go to put it back together. So after this, you're going to go measure your opening on the camper, and that'll determine where you're going to put the door frame and what length to cut it to. Alright, the next thing you're going to do, you're going to measure from the top of your door to the bottom to the floor. I always put mine all the way to the floor because I prefer to sit on a mattress when I get in. That's just me. You can do it whatever way you want. So on this one, this is a 5 tall. We're going to cut it at about 54 inches. Okay, in that last little segment there, I highly recommend you do not cut your openings in your walls before you have your door there. I have used these doors several times and I know what the dimensions are. I obviously never know the height until I build it, but width-wise I usually know. But still, they're running thin on these size doors, so I need to stop doing that myself. So for the next build, I won't do that. But the next step you're going to do is you're going to take that measurement that you got from the camper. Mine was 54, and you're going to transfer it to the frame. And to do that, all you're going to do is grab a tape measure. I use a square. I happen to like the old school squares, so you're going to take it right to that. Take it out to 54, or whatever your measurement is, which is right before the hinge, which I'm kind of digging because I may not have to move it. I'll take the old school square and transfer a whole line there. Now don't go all crazy and start cutting, because that's not your final length. That's just where your threshold's going to go. The trim itself, this outside edge, will actually run down further than that line to match the door, because there's a piece of trim on the bottom of the core itself that extends past. So you got to pay attention to that. I've done it myself a couple of times and screwed it up. So I'm trying to save you a little hassle. It's no big deal if you do. It just doesn't look as clean as professional like it's always been that way. Most people won't notice it unless you point it out to them. But nevertheless, I just choose to hold off. I'll show you how to get that measurement too. Okay, so I transferred both of my lines. So now I know where my threshold's got to go. Your threshold's down here. We're going to keep that where it is, so when we cut the frame to length, it keeps everything from flipping around on you. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this and show you how to get that offset that you're going to need for the bottom of the door. If you look at the door, before you cut it down, this is like their version of butyl tape. I'm not sure if I'm going to use it or if I'm going to use butyl tape. So if you take this, get this out of your way. Right here, there's a little lip where the outer trim extends. In this case, it is a 1/2 inch past where your threshold is going to be. So a 1/2 inch past the line you just marked is where you're actually going to cut the frame. And then what you're going to have to do is notch out just a little bit so it don't bottom out there, because you want the threshold to be on the floor of the camper. So we'll do that and come back and try to fit it to the camper. Okay, so the next thing you're going to do, you're going to flip it back over. You're going to take and mark a 1/2 inch from, a little bit lower than 1/2 inch lower than the line you already marked. And that's going to give you where you're going to cut it. Okay? Now I'm going to go ahead and, this side I might not be able to. Yeah, I can. Just barely. Apologize for all the noise in the background. I had the garage door shut in the first part because the roofer showed up next door. So, all right, there it is. Now you know where your threshold goes and where you want to cut it. Now you're just going to cut it whichever way you have available to you. I have my bandsaw, or you can use a sawzall, or you can use a table saw. With a metal blade, be careful. You can use a cutoff wheel, whatever you got. Hacksaw, use whatever you got. But I'm going to go ahead and give it a little bit more than the 1/2 inch. Just maybe 1/8 of an inch. A little heavy never hurt, I guess. What you're doing is creating a drip edge too, so when the water runs down these channels, and you know it will, it'll run past the bottom of the door, which will be way in here, and actually it creates like a drip edge. So that's why I think it's important to make sure that you measure for that. You can't always do that because not all doors are built the same, so it's just going to depend on what you have. Alrighty, so I'm going to cut it down and then we'll get back to it. Okay, so in that last segment, you know, you always think of these things afterwards. I was cutting that without safety glasses, and that's probably not very smart. One of them little shards of metal get in your eye, and let me tell you, brother, it's happened to me 1,000 times. And you'd think I'd have learned by now not to do it, but it can cause some serious damage to your eyes. So don't you know, that's your eyesight you're playing with. So don't take no chances and just wear them. Okay, well, next thing you're going to do is you're going to take the piece that you have, or that you cut off, and you can go ahead and take off the threshold. On every door I've rebuilt, it's just 2 screws on each side, and they are the number 2 square bit. Just going to pull them off. Save all your screws because you can reuse them to go to put it all back together. And I'm going to bring this up on the other side before I take it apart so I can show you what I mean by the offset up close and personal. Okay, so that's junk. We don't need that. This is junk too. But if you look, I'm going to bring it up here. Okay, on the bottom of this door, let me peel this out of your way. This is garbage, so just go ahead and remove that. So this is what you got here. This is that reveal I was telling you to leave, that extra ½ inch. Because if you don't, then your threshold, this piece right here, will sit lower than, you know, your threshold will be sitting flush with this, and this will be below that line. And that, you know, kind of defeats the purpose. It'll give you a better sealed door overall if you do it the same way they do it. Okay? It's worked for many years, and I imagine it's going to continue to work that way. So, not huge and catastrophic if you don't. You're just going to have to use a little more silicone around that area. That's all. RV silicone, not standard silicone. I highly recommend that you keep these hinges, because if you ever build another one and you're cutting down 2 doors this time, that's 2 hinges for your next door if you decide to build one. They're good hinges, they work well. So, and that's one of them, what do they call them? Friction hinges. So that's a good hinge. Okay, so there's your threshold. Now what you're going to do, I guess I shouldn't have tore that piece off the bottom. Well, at least here I'll use butyl tape. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. So you're going to put this over here. We'll go ahead and slide this a little closer. Everybody can see. I'm going to back the camera out a little bit. Sorry, I'm old school. Don't have all that fancy-dancy stuff yet. We'll get there. We'll get there. So we'll go ahead and zoom out so you can see everything. So I got the door. I'm going to take the threshold. The lip goes out. So put it on that threshold line on both sides. Okay. Then you can take your pencil. I'm looking for mine. Never around when you need it. You know, you're on that line, but then you can take and mark whatever you have to cut off. So that way you know what's good. What you want is the bottom of this edge here to sit on this edge here, not down here. See, because then that kind of defeats the purpose. So back up here. This is what you're going for here. See it? This is what you don't want. Big difference. So this is where you want it. Another little tip for you. You put this up here and get it where you want it. Be careful when you hold it still. You can take a really sharp pencil, and you can see where the screws go back here. So you can take it and you can put a little mark on the side, and that gives you an idea where your screw holes are going to go. I like to pre-drill through the frame. Yep, there it is. I like to pre-drill through the frame so I can get a good idea where everything goes. And doesn't, it just makes things go back together a lot easier. So. There we go. Now I got my holes marked. I know where the holes for my threshold go. And just drill them out. Nice sharp bit. Alright, well, after you notch the side here to accommodate for your threshold, you're ready to put it in. Like I said, you just put it up there, mark it with your pencils, threshold out of the way, take a drill bit, and the way I do it, that's on my drill bit right here, and take the old screws, holes from the old threshold where it attached, and I just, you know, get a drill bit the same size and cut through that. The way, I mean, they use screws that'll go through it, but I just don't want to put the extra stress on it, so that's the way I do it. So now I'm going to grab this and the camera, try to get it set up real quick, and we're going to go see how it fits, see how our measurements and cutting it all down went. See how she fits, see how we did. Perfect. Beautiful fit. There's a little bit of play, and you want that. So, yeah, there it is. And you don't want any kind of resistance here, because if you get any kind of resistance here, your door's going to have a hard time closing. So you want this to just slip in like butter. You don't want it to hang up. You don't want to have to force it in any way, because it just ain't going to work out well for you. So, there it is. So next, we'll do the core. Hey guys, well, that's going to be part 1, I think. I'm going to call that a wrap for today. We're going to go ahead and do the core tomorrow. I'm going to do it now, but I'll continue recording it, and we're going to upload them hopefully within a couple of days of each other. Hey, thanks for watching. Give the video a like, subscribe, because I think I'm going to start doing this. Alright, thanks.